All right, welcome back, guys. It's the ABL NFL playoff predictions. I'm Austin. We're back here with Finn,
Hey guys, how's it going?
and we're just gonna kind of go over our playoff predictions. Each game, go over our AFC, NFC, then Super Bowl predictions. So, starting out right here, we got the wild card round. So we're just gonna go game by game. The first one is the Patriots versus the Chargers. This is the Sunday night game on NBC. We both have the Patriots beating the Chargers. I'll let Finn start with his opinions on the game.
Yeah, I think the thing with the Chargers is that they've always been a little bit inconsistent. And as much as I really like Herbert, in the last few playoffs, he's shown that he isn't too reliable, especially against the Texans just a year or two ago. And I think the Patriots have looked great all season. Drake May is either your MVP candidate or your, second in line for the MVP candidate. So I think the Patriots look really solid. They've been consistent. The Chargers are good, but not quite as consistent.
Yeah. So I think the cold weather, because I mean it's going to be cold in Boston, so I'm assuming it's going to be sub 20 degrees. It probably does favor the Chargers in terms of style of play, because Jim Harbaugh wants the cold weather, but it's just one, the home field advantage is a huge thing for the Patriots, and two, I know the Chargers probably have more playoff experience than them, but I just think there's certain NFL stadiums where home field advantage is kind of like college home field advantage. I think it's the Patriots Stadium, the Seahawks, and I think the Chiefs have it. I think those three teams have it. When they're rolling, it's really hard to beat them in their home field. And I think the Patriots beat the Chargers. I think it's a very close game. I think it's potentially the best game of the wild card weekend, actually.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, and I think it's a low score. I think it's gonna be like a 17-13 type game. It's just gonna be whatever quarterback doesn't turn the ball over because both these defenses are great and both these teams are physical. It's gonna be a good game, good January game.
Interesting. I actually thought the opposite. I thought this is one of the easiest to predict.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think the Patriots are gonna do really well.
yeah, I actually had a hard time with. I didn't know. Here's the thing. It won't sur out of all the upsets that could happen, this would be probably the second least surprising to me. But going to the
Okay.
next game where we both technically have an upset pick, even though it doesn't really feel like it, we both have the Bills beating the Jaguars. So I'll kind of let you start with this one, and I'll just kind of chime in.
This I think was out of all the wild card series, the hardest to predict for me because I really like the Jaguars and I think they're a great team, especially because they'll have home field advantage as well. But Buffalo has had some kind of surprising, or I shouldn't say surprising, but kind of like sneaky, really solid games. Like they won 35-31 against the Patriots, and then they beat the Steelers all in their last six or so games. And then they almost won versus the Eagles with that comeback. But that 2 point conversion didn't go through, obviously. But I think in most games that probably does. And Josh Allen just had one bad moment there. So I like the Bills as a good kind of like sneaky upset here.
Yeah, so I had a difficult time with this one too. Because here's the thing. The Jaguars have probably been the best team in the NFL outside of the Seahawks in the past 7 or 8 weeks. I mean, they haven't
Yeah.
lost a game, I think, since like November or late October. Like the Jaguars have been amazing. But here's the
Yeah,
thing,
they're
and I
hot.
was going to pick the Jaguars because their roster's better, but the one position that isn't better is quarterback. And I
Yeah.
said, if I pick the Jaguars and the Bills win and Josh, because here's the thing, Josh Allen. He has the chance. If he's playing well, no one can beat the Bills. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you saw with everything. But here's the thing: the Bills have been playing, even though they're like 8-3 in their last 11 games. They've been playing some of the worst football I've ever seen them play in the Josh Allen era. Because let me just kind of read you their last couple games. So I don't count the Jets because the Jets are a joke. They lost to the Eagles, a game where I don't think the score indicated how close it was. The Eagles outplayed them the whole time. And I think if the Eagles weren't consistent, instead of it being 13-0 going to the fourth, it could have been like 20-0. But it was snowing, so I'll give
Yeah.
the Bills, I'll give them a break. And then the Browns, they barely beat the Browns. They had to get a defensive stop to win. They had to make a 20-point comeback against the Patriots. The Bengals, if it's not for two Joe Burrow interceptions, Bengals probably win that one. The Steelers, they dominated them. The Texans, they just got dominated.
Yeah.
The Bucks, I mean, it's cold weather in Buffalo. They almost lost to the Bucks. They just Josh Allen had the best game of his life there. Lost to the Dolphins, scraped by the Chiefs, and it's just I wouldn't be surprised the Bills lose this game. And
Yeah.
I debated even make like having them go out in the second round, but it's just I don't really have a good read on either of these two teams. It's just the Jags. I won't be surprised if they make the Super Bowl, but I won't be surprised if they get first rounded.
Yeah, I actually feel the exact same way because I was just thinking about the Jaguars as well. And they have some pretty convincing wins, like that win against Denver. That was a really triumphant win. That was a great
Hmm.
win. And then they also won against the Chargers, I think like 35-5 or something like that. But then they also lost to the Rams 35-7, and then they lost to the Seahawks, which the Seahawks are a really good team. You'll see how I feel about them later in the video. But yeah, I think both of these teams have some really good wins and then a bit, some concerning wins. But I think what it comes down to for me, at least with the Bills, is that Josh Allen's a veteran. James Cook is arguably the best back in the league. And they have, they've been here before. This is not the
Hmm.
first time in the playoffs. In fact, it's kind of the opposite. So they're really experienced. And I think that's what it comes down to me. And I think they have good coaching as well. I know some people will disagree with that, but
Yeah,
they've gotten
I
far
was
before and they
literally
can do it again.
I was literally just about to make a point on the coaching. I mean, Sean
Yeah.
McDermott's coaching for his job. If they don't win this year, because the Chiefs are out of the playoffs, and that's been their quote unquote kryptonite in the playoffs. If
Yeah.
they don't, in my opinion, if they don't make the Super Bowl, I think he's out of a job. And going to like the next game, we got Texans Steelers. We both have the Texans beating the Steelers. I don't think much of this game. I just think the Texans
Yeah.
go in, dominate,
I don't
say,
trust the Steelers at all.
yeah,
I think their defense is solid, but I don't trust Aaron Rodgers. I think he's too old. Sorry.
yeah.
And I mean, if Justin Tucker is still on the team, I think they're losing to the Ravens that last game.
Oh,
So I think it's just like they're not the team for me.
all right. All right, going to the NFC. The game that, I feel like it's being the most talked about out of any playoff game right now, the Bears Packers. And, it's kind of
Yeah,
weird. Everyone's picking the Bears to beat the Packers, something that I don't think has been a thing since the 80s. So
yeah,
I think it's simply because the Packers, I mean, they can't generate a pass rush because Parsons is out. Their whole team's injured. They had some O linemen injured. I think it's a sloppy game. I think maybe one of the other low scoring games. I just think the Bears win. I think they come out. It's a sloppy game, but they win.
yeah. I think this is a really good game for the Bears. Actually, I think they kind of overwhelmed the Packers in terms of matchups, mainly because of injuries, which isn't the Packers' fault, but that's the situation. And this will be a really good game. Not to get too ahead of myself, but going into the second round as well, this could be a really good momentum game for the Bears. I think that's what I'm kind of watching out for.
Yeah, and I like that they've had two losses in the past 2 weeks because a young team. We've seen a lot of hot young teams go into the playoffs and then thinking they're all good and stuff and just get first rounded. So I
Yeah,
think this could be a very good thing for the Bears losing these past two games, bringing them back down to earth because everyone was talking about them. Oh my God, they won their division, they won this one, that. Grounded. I think they'll come in. I think Ben Johnson will have them ready. I think they'll squeak out a win here.
I was literally just about to say that. I think Ben Johnson's a great coach. And like I was saying earlier, kind of with the Bills, a guy who's been there before, a guy
Mhm.
who has kind of had a bit of playoff success with the Lions, or at least gotten there.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think sometimes as a young team, you need to lose. You need to know what it feels like to lose, and you need to know how to correct whatever you did wrong in the past game or games. And I think that's good for the Bears. It'll be a good moment for them to learn.
Yeah. Okay, so next game we have, this game, in my opinion, was the toughest game to predict in all the playoffs. I went back and forth. I originally had the 49ers winning, but the last second I picked the Eagles. I'll let you start with it since you have the best feel on the Eagles, since you watched them the most out of everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think the deal with the Eagles is that a lot of the time the reason they lose is because they're inconsistent, which is really the only thing holding me back from saying, "Oh yeah, the Eagles will definitely win this one." I mean, they have home field advantage. They arguably have the better roster, even though the 49ers roster is very good.
Just all injured.
Obviously, I don't
Injuries.
like, yeah, I don't like the OC at all, but I still have faith in Sirianni, and the defense is amazing. But the 49ers are a really good team, and they've had some decent momentum in the last few weeks. But so have the Eagles, and even though the teams they beat aren't great, like the Raiders and the Commanders, excluding Week 18, they still won against the Bills. That was a good game, and it was in the snow, and they kind of prevailed through that, even though it was really, it was just a messy game. But I think the Eagles are kind of getting their way a little bit, and they're finding out, like what I was saying earlier, they've had to lose a lot to find out what's wrong. And I think they're kind of finding that out. And again, home field advantage. I think the Eagles can win this, but like you said, I was going back and forth. It's going to be a close game.
Yeah, so if this game at halftime, if the 49ers, let's say if the 49ers are winning like 10-7 at halftime, 14-10, something like that, I think this could get pretty weird in the second half. I just have a weird feeling about this game. Like if the 49ers are leading the Eagles in the third quarter, they may not lose that league. Because Philly fans, they're
Yeah,
gonna boo. If the Eagles are losing, they're not gonna be happy and they're not gonna have home field advantage anymore because the Eagles fans will be booing the Eagles. And
yeah, it's true.
it's just I think the Eagles need to come out sharp in order to win this game, but at the same time, Kyle Shanahan just got humiliated against the Seahawks on Saturday in front of what was probably 25, 30 million people watching that game. They're gonna pull out all the stops because I think the Niners know they're not gonna beat the Rams, they're not gonna beat the Seahawks. This is kind of their game.
Yeah.
This is the Niners' best shot in the playoffs, and I I still might change the pick when another episode comes out on Thursday, but I'm having a really tough time with this game. It's not going to surprise me either way. If the Niners were at home, I'd probably pick the Niners simply just because the home field advantage. But I think the Eagles barely win this game, and I think it affects them going to the next round because I think they're going to be beat up against this Niners team.
I think they will. I think another reason that you kind of just reminded me of why I have the Eagles winning this is that the defense is very good. The defense is very good, and kind of like versus Seahawks, I think they're a team that if they could shut the opponent down, at least in the first half, or I mean, they could shut their opponent down the whole game, realistically. They did it against the Bills. They've done it against other teams, kind of in previous games. So if they're able to kind of just get the defense going and the offense is at least decent, not what it was in 2024, but just decent, then I think they really have a shot at winning this game.
Yeah. All right. So next game, I don't plan on spending more than like 10 seconds on it. I think the Rams
Yeah,
just take
same.
care of the business against the Panthers. It's just a get right game for them.
Yeah, not much has to be said about this game,
Yeah.
but I am excited to see how the Panthers
Yeah. And
play, and it'll be fun seeing the.
Devontae Adams is coming
Sorry, you
back.
go.
So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's kind of the nail in the coffin. But I think the Panthers will be really fun to watch, and it'll be really cool to see Bryce Young in a playoff game. I think every NFL fan can say they wanted to see this. So I'm excited for that at the very least. But yeah, Rams will probably come away with this.
all right. So going on to the divisional round, this is where our picks kind of differ. So the first game we have is so we both have the same wild card prediction. So both the games will be predicting are the same. We'll just probably have different outcomes. So the first game we got Bills Broncos. Shockingly, we both got the Bills beating the Broncos. What are your thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
Well, I was thinking again, the Bills have been playing a bit streaky, but again, they're the veteran team. They've had some pretty convincing wins, especially against the Patriots. I view the Patriots as one of the teams to be at least one of the top four teams in this playoffs. So then the Bills beating them is pretty convincing to me. And Denver's very good too. I mean, they have very solid defense. They have pretty solid offense. Um, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just too high on the Bills, but I just see the Bills coming away with this. Again, like good coaching. James Cook is one of the best running backs. But if Denver's able to shut down the Bills, then this game will be over, at least offensively.
Yeah. Here's the thing. If the Bills were playing the Patriots second round, I'd pick the Patriots to win, but I'm not high on the Broncos. I think the Broncos kind of get scraped by a lot of teams that, they lucked into some wins. For example, the Chiefs not having Mahomes. They barely beat the Chiefs without Mahomes. They
Yeah,
got
that's
crushed
true.
by the Jaguars. Barely got past, had a weird game against the Raiders on Thursday Night Football. I just don't feel great about the Broncos, and I'm just, this game to me was another pick 'em. And I'm like, I'm just gonna pick the team with the best player on the field, which is Josh Allen. I might be overrating Josh Allen a bit, but it's just the Broncos defense is great. If any kind of defense can beat them, it's the Broncos. The number two defense in the NFL, the number one's the Texans, which we're gonna get to in about a couple seconds. But I think the Bills beat the Broncos. If it's a high scoring game, I think the Bills win. And yeah, not
Yeah.
much to say. It was just kind of a coin flip game to me.
Well, usually I think I think usually when the Bills score high, they do win. Like the game versus the Patriots was 35-31, so they won that 26-7. That's against the Steelers. Like when they score, they win, and they could prove that they could kind of shut teams down. Even though I don't think the Steelers are great. But yeah, again going back to what I was saying earlier with the Jaguars, Denver lost to the Jaguars by two scores, two touchdowns. So that's
It did not feel
really
like that. It felt like a bigger loss than that.
it felt like a way bigger loss. I mean, losing by 14 as a one seed is a pretty big deal. And then you have these streaky games like the ones you were talking about, or I should rather say sketchy, not streaky. But yeah, I mean, I like them as a team, but I think they're, Bo Nix being quarterback, as good as he's been, is a bit worrying to me. And I'm pretty sure it's his first go as a starting quarterback in the playoffs, which
He
is,
played last year
he's
against the
home.
Bills, ironically enough, but it was like the Bills were favored by like 10 points. It was not much of a game.
Yeah, this is his first really competitive start, game in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
where he's favored.
But yeah, and I think the Broncos home field advantage is a big deal as well. But I just have the Bills coming away with this. They've played some pretty big games before. They'll be ready.
All right, next game, the first disagreement between us. Texans, Patriots. You have the Patriots winning, I have the Texans. Guess we'll just both state our cases here.
Yeah, you go first. I'm interested to hear what you have to say because, like I said
Um,
earlier, I think the Patriots are really good.
My opinion, the Texans are the best and hottest team in the AFC. That defense, I mean, their defense is the best in the NFL. I mean, I think they said the broadcast. I was just watching the Broncos Chargers game yesterday. They're better than the Broncos by 12 yards. So it's really a like a coin flip for the best defense. But that
Yeah,
defense is so good, and I think people are forgetting they've been in the playoffs the past 2 years. This is their third straight year in the playoffs. CJ Stroud has won a playoff game every year he's been in the playoffs. Like they weren't supposed to beat the Chargers, they beat them. The year
yeah,
before that, they weren't supposed to beat the Browns because apparently the Browns were supposed to be the hottest team in the NFL. They beat the Browns. And I think it's the Patriots. I mean, it's a team with a lot, even though the Texans are still very young, it's a team with a lot of playoff experience versus a team with not so much, which is crazy, kind of saying the Patriots don't have playoff experience. And I think also the Texans in this scenario would be coming off of probably a pretty easy win against the Steelers. I mean, the Steelers barely beat the
yeah,
Ravens, and the Ravens are a disaster right now. The Patriots, this is why the previous game matters, because I said the Chargers game, it's going to be a tough physical game for them. And I think the Patriots
yeah.
are going to come in here banged up a bit. The Texans are going to be coming in somewhat rested because they play the Steelers. I think that game will be over by the third quarter. And I think the Texans beat the Patriots. I think this is probably the best AFC game in the playoffs, but I think they win. And I might be
Yeah,
high
I
on the
mean,
playoffs.
no, I think you have a good convincing argument. I mean, their defense is very good and they're a hot team. I think that again, like this could be totally irrational, but I just really like the Patriots. Like, I think Drake May is great. I think he's an example of a quarterback who's pretty young but is ready to go. Like he has just been really poised. He's done well all season, and the Patriots are also going to have home field advantage here, which I think is really huge. Like, this is going to be. I mean, this is the Patriots' first postseason appearance in what, 4 years? Like, this is a big deal. The fans are going to
Yeah,
get around it.
since 2021, I
Um,
believe.
yeah, and I mean, as hot as the Texans are, like both of these teams in our scenario will be just coming off what will probably be a pretty good win for either team in the playoffs. So they'll both kind of have that momentum going in. Um, yeah, I agree with you. I think if the Texans are able to shut the Patriots offense down, this game will probably be over pretty soon. Like, I think if the offense is shut down by the second half, the Texans can just run away with this one. And I do like CJ as a quarterback. I'm high on him, but not super high on him. But yeah, I think this will be a really good game. But I ultimately have the Patriots coming out of this one, but barely winning. It's going to be close either way, I think.
Yeah, and this was a tough one to predict for me too. And also a little note about the Patriots. I know people like to talk about their schedule. They really haven't played a good defense in a while. Um, next game, we have another disagreement here. We actually have two more disagreements. So the first one, Rams Seahawks. This is another pick 'em for me. And I am purely going with the Rams because the Seahawks beat them last time. And even though the Seahawks outplayed them in both games, if Darnold doesn't throw four interceptions in that first game, the Seahawks win. Because also, if Jason Myers makes the field goal, the Seahawks win at LA. So I just think the Rams. It was a weird game against the Cardinals last week. I mean, if there's no holding like when the big play to Michael Wilson, the Cardinals probably do run away with that game. But I
Yeah.
just think the Rams in the playoffs. I mean, this game's the Super Bowl right here. I'm telling. I'll just say it right now.
Wow.
I think the winner of this game wins the Super Bowl. And it's just these are the two best teams in the NFL, and I'm just gonna pick the Rams because I think having Devontae Adams back is a huge deal. Up until week 17, he was the leader in touchdowns in the NFL. He's the best red zone threat in the NFL right now. And the Seahawks had a tough time stopping Puka last time. He went for like 220 against them. Imagine Puka and Devontae. So what say you about this game? Because you have a different opinion about this than me.
I think this might be my biggest disagreement with you. I think the Rams are a really streaky team, and those losses against the Seahawks and the Falcons are really concerning to me. Now, I do agree with you in the sense that with that Seahawks game, the Seahawks they have an amazing. I think they have the best defense in the league. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but they did let up 36 or so points to the Rams, which to me is really concerning. And like you said, they have Devontae Adams coming back, but the Rams also lost to the Falcons. To me, that's kind of one of those games where you lose that and I can't consider you to be a contender.
That's
Like,
fair.
that is a game you should have easily won. And Seattle is just, I think they're great on all fronts. Really the only front they concern me on is Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold can also be kind of streaky. Like we saw in the Rams game, he like got it back. He locked in a bit, but he wasn't doing great for a good amount of that game. And if that happens in the playoffs, that's gives me some pause for concern, or some cause for concern because when you're playing like that in a playoff game and you're kind of turning the ball over loosely, like teams will take advantage of that. They will go and score. But also with the Rams, one thing that I think is really overlooked is their special teams. I mean, their special teams is awful. I think they have the worst conversion percentage in the league on extra points and field goals, which, again, that's something in the playoffs that other teams will capitalize on. So I guess for all those reasons, I have the Seahawks coming out winning.
And a little fun fact about Sam Darnold, I'm pulling up his stats right now. So against the Rams this season, he's thrown 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions in the 2 games combined. So right now he's got 25 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. If you take out the Rams games, he's got 23 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, which most people would say is a pretty good season. So
Yeah.
whatever Chris Shula does to Sam Darnold, I mean, he played good in the second half of the second game, but I mean, this is a pick 'em. This is a pick 'em to me. I think the Seahawks will probably be favored, and I still might change my pick on this one. It was so hard for me not to pick the Seahawks, but I think similar to the
Yeah.
Lions last year. Last year, Lions young team, really the hottest team in the NFL. They get a bye and they come out flat. Could be the case with Seattle, in my opinion, because I don't think you want a team like Seattle to have a bye who's been playing a young team playing that good.
Yeah, I think this is probably, I mean, we've said this about a lot of games so far because this probably is the most unpredictable playoff in a while. But I think this is the game with the most ifs. Like, is the Rams extra team or, special teams going to do well? Is Sam Darnold going to do well? How's Devontae Adams going to play? Will the Rams defense stop Darnold? Like, I think there's so many things considered in this game that, like you said, it is a coin toss. But this is probably, if our scenarios are correct, will probably be the best game of the playoffs. This might be the Super Bowl. I agree with that.
Yeah. All right, next game, a rematch of the double doink game from what I think
Yeah.
is 7 years ago now. Bears Eagles, another difference of opinion. I got the Bears winning, you got the Eagles. I'll give you the start on this one.
I think I have to pick the Eagles. I'd be a bad Philadelphia fan if I didn't have faith in them. Again, I think if the Eagles win against the 49ers, they will be banged up. That is a good point. But they will also be resilient because I think winning against the 49ers gives you great momentum. And the Bears will have, like I said, they'll also have a good amount of momentum. So it'll be really interesting to see this matchup. But again, the Eagles are the more experienced team. They are the Super Bowl champions from last year. Like, I think a lot of people are
Yeah.
forgetting that. This is still most of the same roster. This is still Saquon Barkley. This is still one of the best defenses in the league. This is still Jalen Hurts, who was a Super Bowl MVP. Like, he hasn't had the best year, but they're still a great team. I think playing in Chicago will be a bit concerning. It's going to be really cold, obviously, but the Eagles are from Philadelphia and they won against Buffalo in snow. So I don't think that weather kind of concerns them. And last year when they played the Rams in the snow and won, granted that was at home, but still. So I think this is going to be, again, a really close matchup. I think both of these teams are really evenly matched. I think this will ultimately come down to coaching. Will Ben Johnson be the best coach or will Nick Sirianni? And whoever is will win this game. I think Sirianni will have enough good coaching to win it, though.
Yeah. So this game, so it's funny when the playoffs started, I said literally the exact same thing about both these teams. Both these teams are kind of limping in the playoffs. I'm like, the Bears will win a game and get second rounded. The Eagles will win a game and get second rounded. These teams are both in the second round now. One of them is going to advance, and I think like the team that's advanced just gets crushed by the Rams or Seahawks in the NFC Championship. But that's for the
Yeah.
next slide. This game to me, it's going to be a good game. Um, but I, I just think the Bears win. I just think the home field gives them and also the Eagles losing to the Commanders gave me a bad taste about them, even though they kind of had their
Yeah.
backups in. It's still I just have a bad taste in my mouth about that game, even though the Bears lost to the Lions. The Lions are a very serviceable team. They're a very good team.
Yeah.
And they're a team that like was a game away from the playoffs. So I just, I don't have a great feeling about the Eagles, so I'm just picking the Bears purely off that, and also I think Ben Johnson's the better coach.
Yeah. I mean, just on the Sirianni note or the coaching note with Sirianni, what is he doing? Why are you resting your players going into week 18 where you can get the second seed? Because if this matchup does
And the
happen,
easier
you've
matchup
now
in the wild
forfeited.
card.
Yeah, exactly. You play the Packers and then you get home field advantage. Why are you sitting your starters, especially with a team that needs momentum? So that gives me a lot of concern. I could easily see the Bears winning this game. I could very
Mhm.
much see that. I could also see the Eagles winning it, but if the Bears win it, I really would not be surprised. And the Bears do win, makes that will give some uncomfortable conversations about Nick Sirianni. It'll just create those really uncomfortable conversations. So this will be a really interesting game to watch, not just for the playoff implications, but also for the next year. We'll see what happens.
All right, so the NFC and AFC championships now. So we kind of got some different matchups for each one. So your AFC championship, you got Bills Patriots, and if these teams win the championship, I'd probably pick the Patriots to win. So I'm curious why you would think the Bills are going to win.
Again, I think it just goes back to that. Like the Patriots are a great team, and like I said multiple times, I'm high on them. But the Bills are more experienced. The Bills have one of the best running backs in the league. They have an MVP on their team, leading their team. Their defense is still pretty serviceable. I think that the Bills, this is kind of their moment. This is their time to seize on what can be an easier playoffs to go forward in because they're not playing the Chiefs. And again, I think when they don't play the Chiefs, they just have a better chance of winning. So if the Bills really want to capitalize, this is the time, and I think they can do it.
Mhm. So I get the Texans beating the Bills. I think, it's been pretty obvious this whole video. I think the Texans are the best team in the AFC. I think the only disadvantage was that they were a wild card team. They wouldn't have a home playoff in a game. But in this scenario, they have a home playoff game, even though I don't think they have the best home field advantage. Um, I think the Bills are just drained by this point. You play a tough team in the Jaguars, you play a tough team in the Broncos. I think they're drained. I think they just kind of come out flat here. And I think the Texans win this game. Um, and yeah, so now going to the NFC, I think our picks are pretty similar. I think it's either Seahawks or Rams
Yeah.
just beating, what's left of the Bears or Eagles. So you can kind of start with yours here.
I mean, again, the Seahawks will have home field advantage, and the Eagles won't be able to match that. And the Seahawks, I think, are the team in the playoffs with the least amount of variables. I think Sam Darnold is the really only big variable, and he can definitely play well. So I just see this. If this is a matchup, I hate to say it, but I don't think the Eagles will stand too much of a chance. It could be over quick.
Yeah. And I think the same about Rams Bears as well. I think the Rams take care of the Bears pretty quickly in this one. I don't have much to say about the NFC Championship. I think the Seahawks Rams will be the real kind of NFC game in this playoff. So now our Super Bowl picks, what everyone's been waiting for. So you got the Seahawks beating the Bills. I got the Rams beating the Texans. So I'll let you start here about Seahawks Bills Super Bowl.
Again, I think this would be a great matchup no matter which team plays. I really like both of these matchups, but I think just again same thing with the Seahawks. Really consistent. That defense is great. That defense is amazing. We've seen it all year. If they can shut down Josh Allen and the Bills, which will be really hard to do, then that's kind of just the key for them. Because I don't really know if the Bills can shut down the Seahawks offense. I think they have a good defense, a decent defense. But the Seahawks are just too much. They just have too much going on both ends of the field. So I think just for that reason, they're going to be the Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, I got the Rams winning. I think, the Rams Seahawks rosters, it's like 1A, 1B for who is the best roster. And like I said, I could easily see the Seahawks winning. Like I think it's the Rams 1A, Seahawks 1B. But I just think the Rams
Yeah,
beat the Texans, in my opinion. Over the year, I think the Texans has been since week 5, the Texans have been the best team in the AFC. They started the season with a 3-game losing streak, and now they're ending the season 12-5, 11-6, I believe. So they've been one of the hottest teams. I think D'Amico Ryans. I mean, he's not going to win Coach of the Year, but this coaching job's
yeah.
been fantastic. And the Rams, I think they fixed their woes, and I think they kind of go on a run in the playoffs because this is kind of the year for them. Stafford could be done after this year. This is probably the best they're going to get Stafford at. They got. I just think the Rams have too many guys on offense, and also that defensive line. I think it's time they start playing well. And I think the Rams Texans, they played each other in week 1. It was a low scoring game, and the Rams won. But I think the Rams ultimately are the Super Bowl champion. But like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if the Seahawks win.
And we barely talked about Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford's
Oh
been
yeah,
amazing. I mean, even though
he's
he has
my
had
MVP
some,
this year.
yeah, I don't blame you. I think it's Drake May again, but like I said, I'm super high on him. But I think they're both. It's a really close competition, and if it weren't for a few, I guess, so games that Stafford had, I think he'd run away with it.
Yeah.
And those games have really kind of like made or broken his MVP case. But if he plays like he normally did, excluding those few games, then he'll be really hard to stop, and this team will be really good. So I think, yeah, I think the winner comes out the NFC, and it's probably the Seahawks and the Rams.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for watching. It was great filming with you, Finn. And we'll kind of film again in a couple weeks to recap some of the games. So yeah, any last words?
Just thanks for having me on, and as much as I think the Seahawks will win, I hope the Eagles win even more.
All right. There we go.